Have you ever noticed how every generation seems to think the one that follows is somehow lost? That they're more selfish, less responsible, less driven? We see it all the time. But what if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if we've been asking the wrong question entirely? The debate over the baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964, has become one of the most polarizing topics in our modern world, touching everything from economics to culture. It's a debate that fills comment sections and family dinner tables with tension. On one side, you have the narrative that the boomers built the prosperity we enjoy today. They were the engine of post-war growth, the architects of modern suburbia, and the pioneers of a new middle class. But on the other side, there's a growing voice, especially from younger generations, saying they didn't just build prosperity, they hoarded it, pulling up the ladder behind them. To understand this, we have to go back in time. The boomer generation came of age in a period of unprecedented economic expansion in the Western world. Following World War II, governments invested heavily in infrastructure, education, and housing. Think about it. Factories were humming, wages were rising faster than inflation, and a single income could often support a family, buy a home, and save for retirement. The GI Bill in the United States, for example, sent millions of veterans to college and provided low-interest mortgages, creating a surge in home ownership and a highly educated workforce. This was a time of immense optimism, where the promise of a better life wasn't just a dream. For many, it was a tangible reality. Now, let's fast forward to today. For Millennials and Gen Z, that reality looks very different. The systems that created so much opportunity for the boomers now seem strained, if not completely broken. The idea of buying a home on a single average salary feels like a fantasy in many major cities. Instead of graduating into stable, well-paying jobs with pensions, young people often emerge from college burdened with staggering student loan debt, facing a gig economy that offers flexibility but little security. The headlines tell the story: soaring inflation, a housing affordability crisis, and wage stagnation that has plagued workers for decades. The promise of work hard and you'll get ahead feels hollow when the goalposts keep moving further and further away. So, is it fair to lay all of this at the feet of an entire generation? Is it really as simple as blaming the boomers? The internet certainly makes it seem that way. We've all seen the memes, the OK Boomer dismissals, and the retaliatory headlines claiming millennials ruined everything, from napkins to the housing market. We love to put people in boxes. It's easier that way. We draw these neat lines in the sand: boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, but these labels are far more arbitrary than we think. Even demographers and sociologists can't agree on the exact years where one generation ends and the next one begins. Are you a millennial if you were born in 1996, or are you Gen Z? Does a 2-year difference fundamentally change your entire life experience? Of course not. These generational labels are shorthand, a convenient way to talk about broad trends, but they can also be a trap. They flatten the incredible diversity of experience within a single generation. Not every boomer became a wealthy homeowner with a cushy retirement. Many faced their own struggles, from economic downturns like the recessions of the 70s and 80s to social upheavals and personal hardships. Likewise, not every millennial is an avocado toast-eating city dweller drowning in debt. These are caricatures, not realities. So, if it is not just about one generation being selfish, and another being entitled, what is the real story? The truth is that generations are not a monolith. They are not a destiny. They are a context. They are shaped by the powerful forces of their time, by government policy, by economic shifts, by technological revolutions, and by pure, dumb luck of circumstance. The prosperity many boomers experienced wasn't just because they worked harder. It was because they benefited from specific policies and a global economic environment that favored widespread growth and wealth accumulation. Think of strong unions that fought for better wages, government investment in higher education that made it affordable, and housing policies that subsidized suburban development. Conversely, the challenges facing younger generations aren't a result of them being lazy or unwilling to work. They are the direct result of a different set of policies and economic realities. We're talking about the deregulation of financial markets, the decline of union power, cuts to public funding for universities that led to skyrocketing tuition, and zoning laws that have made it nearly impossible to build enough affordable housing. These are not generational failings, they are systemic and political ones. Pointing the finger at the boomers is easy. It gives us a simple villain for a complex problem, but it distracts us from the real culprits, the policies, the systems, and the decisions made over decades by leaders and institutions, some of whom were boomers, yes, but also members of the generations before and after them. The narrative of intergenerational warfare is incredibly useful for those who benefit from the status quo. When young people are busy blaming their parents' generation for their problems, and older people are busy complaining about the youth, no one is looking up at the structures that are actually creating these inequalities. We're fighting amongst ourselves over the scraps while the real feast is happening elsewhere. Calling an entire generation selfish is not just an oversimplification. It's a misdirection. It prevents us from having the necessary conversations about tax policy, labor rights, housing reform, and educational funding. It stops us from building the cross-generational coalitions we need to actually fix these problems. A young person struggling to find a stable job and an older person worried about their pension being devalued by inflation are not enemies. They are both victims of a system that is no longer working for the average person. Their struggles may look different on the surface, but their root causes are often the same. So, instead of asking if the boomers were selfish, maybe a better question is this: how did we get here? What specific policies led to this divergence in opportunity? And, most importantly, what can we, all of us across every generation, do together to build a system that offers prosperity and security not just for one lucky generation, but for all of them? The real story isn't a simple tale of generational greed. It's a complex story of economics, policy, and shifting societal priorities. It's easy to assign blame. It's easy to look at the numbers, the protests, the headlines, and say one generation took too much or left too little. That the boomers had it all and left the rest of us with the scraps. But the truth is, economies aren't built on single moments in time. They are the result of long-term decisions, a complex web of choices stretching back decades. You see, the baby boomer generation certainly benefited from post-war policies that fueled unprecedented growth. A strong job market, affordable education, accessible housing. It was a time of opportunity. But let's be clear, they didn't write all the rules. The systems we live with today, our approaches to housing, education, and healthcare, weren't created overnight. They were the products of decades of political choices, debates, and votes that every generation, in its own time, participated in. These policies were shaped by the prevailing ideas of their era, not by some grand, selfish plan. When we get caught up in this idea of boomers versus millennials, we lose sight of what's really going on. It's a convenient distraction, but it keeps us from tackling the real issues: staggering inequality, systemic policy failures, and a global economy where the gap between the wealthy few and the working many grows wider every single day. The real conflict isn't between your parents and you. It is between all of us and a system that isn't working for the average person anymore. Framing our economic problems as a generational battle is a dangerous oversimplification. It makes us forget that we are all living under the same flawed structure, just at different stages of our lives. The retiree worried about their pension, the young professional struggling with student debt, the parent trying to save for their child as future. We are all navigating the consequences of the same set of economic and political decisions. We are all in this together, whether we realize it or not. The point isn't to find a scapegoat or to label an entire generation. The point is to understand the complex history that brought us here. Because once we stop pointing fingers and blaming each other, we can finally start working together to fix what's truly broken. After all, generations don't define us. Our choices do. Thanks for watching. If this gave you something to think about, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content that challenges the way we see the world.